me, if you will.
Ifrit! Visions of Hellfire! Ifrit!
Blast of the Covenant!
Giant with your light!
Blast of the Covenant!
Giant with your light! Burn everything in sight! 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 Shiva! Thalassar! Here's the darkness! Here's the darkness! End this! Burn everything in sight! Shall I wonder? Thalassar! Shiva! Here's the darkness! End this! Burn everything in sight! 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 Here's the darkness! End this! Burn everything in sight! 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 Giant with your light! Burn everything in sight! Burn everything in sight! Burn everything in sight! Burn everything in sight! Here's the darkness! End this! Burn everything in sight! Burn everything in sight! Burn everything in sight!
Blast of the Covenant! To the sky! Breaking blade!
Giant with your light!
Shall I lend a hand?
Giant with your light! Burn everything in sight!
Cross the heavens!
Here's the darkness! End this! Burn everything in sight! Burn everything in sight! Burn everything in sight! Burn everything in sight! Burn everything in sight!
Cross the heavens!
Burn everything in sight!
Blast of the Covenant!
Burn everything in sight!
Cross the heavens!
Here's the darkness! End this! Burn everything in sight! Burn everything in sight!
Blast of the Covenant!
Burn everything in sight!
Cross the heavens!
Burn everything in sight!
Cross the heavens!
Here's the darkness! End this! Burn everything in sight! Pierce the darkness! End it!
Shall I lend a hand?
Burn everything in sight! Pierce the darkness! End it!
Engrave!
Burn everything in sight! Burn everything in sight! Burn everything in sight! Pierce the darkness! End it! Burn everything in sight! Burn everything in sight!
Blast of the covenant!
Burn everything in sight!
Cross the heavens!
Burn everything in sight!
Cross the heavens!
Pierce the darkness! End it! Burn everything in sight!
Cross the heavens!
Pierce the darkness! End it! Burn everything in sight!
Cross the heavens!
Pierce the darkness! End it! Burn everything in sight!
Cross the heavens!
Pierce the darkness! End it! Burn everything in sight! Burn everything in sight! Burn everything in sight! Burn everything in sight!
Cross the heavens!
Pierce the darkness! End it! Burn everything in sight! For the hope of the world! Burn everything in sight! Burn everything in sight! I will end the final conflict! Sins of time eternal! I will cast them away! Burn everything in sight!
Blast of the covenant!
Burn everything in sight!
Cross the heavens!
Pierce the darkness! End it! Burn everything in sight!
Dragon skin to me!
Burn everything in sight!
Cross the heavens!
Pierce the darkness! End it! Burn everything in sight! Burn everything in sight!
Cross the heavens!
Pierce the darkness! End it! Burn everything in sight! Burn everything in sight!
Cross the heavens!
Pierce the darkness! End it! Burn everything in sight! Burn everything in sight! Burn everything in sight!
Blast of the covenant!
Burn everything in sight!
Cross the heavens!
Pierce the darkness! End it! Burn everything in sight!
Engrave!
Pierce the darkness! End it!
judgment!
Burn everything in sight!
Engraved!
Burn everything in sight!
Cross the heavens!
Pierce the darkness! End it!
Cross the heavens!
Pierce the darkness! End it! Burn everything in sight!
Engraved!
Burn everything in sight! Burn everything in sight!
I have to keep this up.